Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, I'm Nadeina, head of growth at saas.group, serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business success. And today with me is Augustin, co-founder and CEO at Weglot, a translation tool that lets you convert your content into more than 100 languages. That's exciting. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Anna. Good morning, everyone. Super
Hi.
happy to be here.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm super happy to see you here. I see what you guys are doing and how fast you're growing. So it's fascinating that you found time for this. But, let's make use of it. First of all, before we go into product and everything else, can we start with your background?
Yes, sure. Of course, with pleasure. So I'm Augustin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Weglot. I'm more in charge of the sales, marketing, admin, and every non-tech related topics. Before meeting my co-founder Remy and starting Weglot with him, I worked in finance for 3 years. I did mergers and acquisitions, so very far from the web industry, but it was super exciting. For 3 years. After 3 years, I started to get bored, and I think I was starting to be boring for my team. So it was time to do something else. I quit, and I wanted to start a company or join a company very early. And that's when I met Remy, who had the idea of Weglot. And yeah, we met in 2015. From there, we started Weglot together.
Okay. A lot of the stories I hear here on the podcast is, I started a company because it was my problem, something that I wanted to solve for myself, or, it's an industry that I was coming from and I wanted to do something better. But you were coming from M&A. So what made you so excited about Weglot idea?
What made me so excited about Weglot's idea is that it was solving my co-founder's problem. The way he presented me the idea and the problems he was trying to solve really talked to me. It was super clear and natural. If we go back to 2015, when we met, he started a first company for a year who was kind of a mix between Craigslist and Google Maps. When he did this first startup, he was in charge of all the development of the web app and mobile app. He was also kind of learning how to code, web code. When he did that, every time he met a challenging technical problem, he always found a super simple solution. So for example, when you want to add payment to a web app, do you need to host the card numbers to do the connection with the bank, etc.? No, you just take Stripe and in half a day it's done. Same thing if you want to send text messages with Twilio, if you want to do many things actually. But when he wanted to translate the app, it was super painful, not only on the content part, but also on the tech part. How do we handle key values, URLs of the website, how Google is going to crawl my web pages in translated pages, etc. And so he didn't find any easy solution as he found when he was looking for other problems. So he thought, I need to create a product that just solve that.
Okay, so he pitched an idea to you, and you, as an M&A expert, saw a potential there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm an M&A expert, but what resonated a lot to me was the fact that it was a true problem he experienced, and he didn't find any solution to do it. And so let's try. And we started working together without any company, just to check if we were able to find users, find first customers who were ready to pay for the solution, and if we were getting along, also super important. So for 6 months, we actually had no legal company. It was just like trying to find users and customers and making sure we were on the same page and we shared the same values.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, first time founder, I want to ask you about, all the mistakes, especially all the common mistakes we often discuss here that maybe you also fall into, like building too many features at once or going after too broad a market or raising too much too soon. Any of those, or maybe you had your own very special mistakes.
I am a first-time founder, but he is a second-time founder. Uh, Thanks to Remy, we avoided a lot of mistakes he already did during his first adventure. We did mistakes, of course, but we avoided a lot of them. Maybe one of them that we did is at some point when we started Weglot, the first traction we experienced was on a CMS. So what does Weglot do? Weglot helps you to make your website in any language. You add Weglot to a website, and then it's ready for translations. It's already available to your visitors, and you can switch the language with a language button and manage translations inside Weglot. And the first traction we experienced was in WordPress. Then we duplicated it in Shopify, so 2 CMSs. And at this time, even though we wanted to have something that's universal, any web technologies, any website can use us, we were super focused on these 2 CMSs. And so at that point, we did a first round we raised some money mainly from a club of business angels. And then we wanted to duplicate this approach and start doing integrations, but for every web technologies. So for more dev technologies, like if you want to do for framework in PHP or packages, for example, in Laravel, then in JS, etc. And we hired someone to do that. We did it for 3 months, and we didn't see the traction. It was probably a bad idea, both from a go-to-market perspective and adoption, and even on a scaling point of view, because even if it had worked, we would have ended up with hundreds of integrations to maintain and to market, etc., and it would have been a nightmare. So we did this mistake, but it only lasted 3 months, and then we decided to cut it. The hard part is we hired someone to do it internally, so we had to let him go. It was not an easy decision. It was the first time we had to do that, so it's never easy when it's the first time. But since it was very clear that we didn't find this traction and adoption with this approach, it was also clear for the person that it doesn't make sense to remain in the company.
Right. So you were both kind of happy that it didn't last as long as it could have. Well, I also want to ask you, because you already mentioned it, right? Because you raised a bit of money first, but then a lot of money next. And again, coming from M&A, did you have like a certain advantage? Like you spoke the same language, you maybe knew already like what metrics investors were looking for, and so on.
I think it helped a bit, but not that much. I think what helped us was more the robustness of our business model and our approach, and maybe it gave me the let's say the education and, like you said, the language to better understand what people are looking for and how to present things. But to be very honest, I think it's a small part of it. It helped us to find so for the second time we raised money. It's a mix of secondary and primary. So the second time when Partech invested in Weglot, at this time we also hired an M&A company to help us and to support us in this process. And actually, one of the M&A we went to, we reviewed 5 providers, and one of them was someone I worked with when I was in my first experience. And it was the one we were the most happy with, and we had trust with my co-founder. So we actually worked with him. But so that in that case, it helped us. But I would say, like, overall, it gave us a financial education and background to maybe be a bit better during the process, but it's a small part, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, since you started talking about your first hire and fire, I want to ask about the culture and how you're doing, because obviously I'm always doing my research before every podcast, and reviewing the culture and kind of like what people talk about regarding the company on the internet is very important, because we're also pretty big on like making people happy within their workspace at saas group. So Weglot is now one of the leading European scale-ups, and you have about 60 people doing that. And I have the information that it's 100% retention after a trial period in your team, which is amazing. So, oh, and you also have a 4-day week. Again, tell me everything, but that's just fascinating. And yeah, I want to ask about, the secret sauce, and the people are apparently very happy with you guys, and how do you make it work that you have this balance, or you strive for balance, but you also have a very high performing team?
Good question. Yes, I think people of the team are really amazing. They're all super talented and very committed. I don't have all the explanations. I think some of it is also part of the we don't know. There is part of things that you don't know why it's working so well. But I would say, like, first, we always had a culture of not hiring too many people. We didn't want to be in a position where you bring people to the team, and then a couple of months after you need to fire them because you don't performing well enough, or they don't have enough to do in their day to day. So that's one thing we kind of experienced with this first story I told you about, and we didn't want to experience that a second time. And so we always make sure that it's very clear what the people will do when they come in, and we absolutely need them. It tends to, maybe we're a bit slow to hire, so that's probably something that's the downside of it. So that's one thing. So hiring not that fast, not that many people, and then I think we are very focusing on being super, I think, involved and in your work, and happy with what you're doing, professionally speaking, but also with a strong balance between professional and personal. I think we are all sharing some values which we are collectively ambitious, and we have very high expectations for Weglot and for the team. But it's also important that we can be super happy being able to pick up the kids when they're sick, or to take days off if necessary. That's, you can be performing at work if you're not happy and in a good state of mind personally. So that's, I think, one of the things we are trying to be very careful about, and the 4-day week is part of it. So it's an experience we started 1 year ago, and so far it's working well. So the idea behind that is we want to increase the flexibility for people to have this pro-perso work-life balance. And one important thing today is to have time to do things with your kids, or for yourself, or your family. And we didn't know if it will impact positively or negatively the performance of Weglot. And overall, after a year, I would say it's neutral or positive. It's hard to be very categorical on about that, but if you look, for example, at sales metrics, they're performing better today than a year ago before the 4-day week. So that's a way of looking at performance. And yeah, I think that's part of the culture too, and it also plays probably a role in the retention culture we have.
That's super interesting, and very valuable. I can see why, why people want to work in such a culture. And we had a conversation here on the podcast recently about the fact that it's never about just being focused on your work, and like, if you are stressed, or if you feel overworked, well, you know what, just kind of go through this, work a little more, and somehow I noticed it myself personally is when you focus on something else, and you want to like strive for success in another part of your life, like you said, just being, I don't know, a good parent too. um, it doesn't mean it's taken away from your work. It kind of plays the other way around. It's really fascinating.
Yes, I agree, and totally. And also, if you're creating an environment where people are happy to come to work, physically or mentally speaking, then I think that's the only way they can be very impactful, and they can also contribute to the performance of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if I can just recommend something, because I read it, I think it was on company page or on your personal page on LinkedIn. You guys have this article, which is called Beyond Business at Weglot. And yeah, to the audience here, whoever's listening, it's a really cool piece about, great company initiatives and, work-life balance and gender equality and all that. So yeah, super interesting. Thanks for telling me about this. Okay, another thing that I wanted to ask you about is obviously how Weglot works, and it sounds magical. It translates every website to any language you want, and it kind of in my mind it's just you go there and you press a button, boom, it's in French.
So the idea is to from the very beginning, the idea was to really focus on the experience and on people actually in charge of the websites. So today, people in charge of websites are not web developer anymore. It's really more, marketing, content, product people. And the whole idea behind that is offering a product that's super easy to add. You don't need to be a 5-year coding expert to do it. And you can manage translations also inside the product in real time pretty easy. It's really about how do we add translations and multilingual feature to a website in an easy way, and how does it work? So you have two sides of the product, but you're gonna add Weglot to your website, so it's gonna take between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how your website is built and what do you want. And then Weglot is going to see your pages and offer a first set of translations for your pages. So for example, if you have Anna.com website, you add Weglot to your website, it's in English, and you want to have it available in French and German. And so the language button is added to your website, and then when you switch from English to German, it will provide a first layer of translations that's coming from AI translation providers. So for example, you have DeepL, Google Translate, or Microsoft. And then yourself or your international team or anyone you're working with can manage post-edit translations if you want. So for example, if there are things that you believe are not translated in a way that you're comfortable with, or you want to have someone who's actually speaking the language review the translations, they can do that, and they can change it in real time in your Weglot account. So then how does it work at the end of the day? When the visitors are coming to your website and they're switching from English to German, they're actually kind of consuming and requesting our service, Weglot, and that's our service that's going to display and provide the translations to the visitors. So there are two ways. There are two sides. One is technically speaking, in a couple of minutes, you have the tech infrastructure for translations. You don't need to code anything. And translations management, in a couple of minutes, you also have translations available, and you can post-edit and add workflows to it to meet your quality standards.
Right. And since we've already established you're not doing it with, integrations with different systems, how does it actually work? I know that it's like low code, no code kind of situation. So would I be the least technical person on earth be able to actually make Anna.com into German or French?
Yes, absolutely. That's really something we focused a lot, and we're still continuously focusing on. It's to make sure it's super easy to add and it's compatible with any website technologies. So whether you've built your website on a CMS or not. And how we do that at the DNS level. So the DNS is where you're buying and managing your domain name. So for example, if you have anna.com domain name, that's where you're going to manage it. And we will ask you to add an entry to allow us to use your domain name, and it will allow us then to serve the translation request for the pages visitors are asking. So you add this entry in your DNS, and then the translations are available on the either subdomains or subdirectories for your visitors. That's it.
Okay, fascinating. I'm gonna try. First of all, I'm thinking, is Anna.com even available?
I don't think so.
But let's see. All right. Okay. Another question that I have is about AI, right? Because, well, it's all the buzz now. And I know that at least, on the website, it says that AI is inside Weglot. So, since you introduced AI, and tell me like when it happened, right? Because some companies added it many years ago when it wasn't so cool, but they just didn't market it that way. They just started doing it right now. So how has your workflow and the way kind of Weglot works on the back end change with that?
Not so much. Actually, we always worked with AI in a sense. We worked with machine translations providers since day one. And today you can rename them AI translations providers, but back in the days they were machine translations providers, and they were using MNT, not LLMs, but still providing some sort of kind of AI magic. And we actually built a product where we can add new providers on the fly if we found them better in terms of quality or scalability. So if tomorrow there is a new provider that's coming in with better translation quality and the same level of stability and speed, we can add them to our providers and make them available to our customers. Our kind of goal and mission is to be able to be the best black box possible and find the best AI translation providers for them. Today, for the language pairs that's been served by DeepL, it's DeepL. But tomorrow, if it's another player, we can plug them in Weglot. So that didn't really change. We can this part, but on the other hand, we also wanted to leverage AI inside the product to try to bring value to users and customers. So part of our product is to edit and to manage translations, and that's where sometimes AI can help you. For example, we released the feature where you can ask AI to suggest better translations or to suggest shorter translations or to suggest more SEO-focused translations. A couple of suggestions like this with a pre-written prompt and with the right AI provider are the things we are trying to add to the product and to bring to our customers. So AI is part of Weglot as it has always been part of the translations management on the translations part of things. And AI, we're also trying to add it to the product to bring additional value to the users, but more in the workflow, post-editing approach.
And with that addition, did you or maybe your customers have any kind of concerns, who has access to this kind of data and like how is it used and like where, how it is trained and so on?
That's your German side of things talking.
I'm not German, but
but
having
no, I
worked
know.
with Germans for a while,
But in
it's great
saas.group, in saas.group, there are a couple of German companies
yes.
and people. That's why I'm saying that. But yes, absolutely. No, in our business, 80% of our customers are self-service customers, so they can ask questions, but we only have let's say the visible part of the iceberg. But for the 20% where we're gonna have a very specific custom legal terms negotiated between them and us, so that's the part that's more sales driven or sales assisted than self-served. It's very interesting, but because they are very concerned about their data and how it's used and what's the processors are we using, how are we processing them, etc. It's important to us also, and that's why we try to only work with providers that are respecting the privacy and are not using our data and are not hosting our data. For example, DeepL, they do not host data. They removed it after they did the process, the request, and they don't use it to train their algorithm. When we use OpenAI, ChatGPT AI, so in a commercial way, they also don't use it to train their algorithm, and we set parameter to do not host and record the prompting and the data that have been processed by OpenAI. So yes, it's super important to us that they do not use the data of our customers to train their algorithm or to improve their services without their explicit consent.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your customers, right? So how are you getting those, and how has your customer acquisition changed from those first 6 months when you didn't have the company to now when you have a big one?
Yes, sure. So customers, I mean, the beauty of Weglot is that many companies with many different size have the issue of translating their websites, and you have very different use cases of websites. So you can have a marketing institutional website where you're going to try to either do branding or getting leads, or you can have e-commerce websites where you need to convert and attract customers to sell online. Or you can also have like private applications that can be used internally for your own company or for your own customers. For example, if you have a SaaS and you want to have your own private app for your SaaS, the dashboard part available in different languages, you can also use Weglot there. So that's 3 different, let's say, big use cases. And we have many customers that are using Weglot for these different use cases. We started with small companies, solopreneurs, and now today we have from solopreneurs to large companies, but the sweet spot of Weglot is strong SMBs and mid-market. We're present in more than 100 countries, but our main regions today are North America and Western Europe. There is no, and we're not industry specific, so it can be really any industries. And yeah, how do we find them? It's a really marketing effort that the marketing team is really doing super well. They're amazing at it. And the goal is to be found when they express their problem or they're looking for a solution. So it's kind of a bottom of the funnel approach rather than top of the funnel. There are different ways to be present, but the main ones would be one through Google, so SEO, SEA, and then through word of mouth inside website communities. So for example, when you're building a website around the CMS technology, there is a community, and we're trying to be very active in these communities to participate, sponsor, animate also that, for example, on Shopify or other CMSs. And yes, that's really the SEO, SEA, and this CMS approach.
That's fascinating. Thanks for walking me through this. All right, I have just a couple more questions, and they're the usual ones. Everyone gets them. So far, this has been quite a fascinating journey. What has been your biggest win and biggest failure? Can be your personal as a founder, or the company's.
You sent me the questions ahead of the interview, but I didn't really prepare that, so that's on me.
It didn't get to to the bottom.
So biggest win, I think you mentioned that before, but growing a company to this size, I mean, now we're north of 30 million euros ARR with only 55 people. There are not many companies doing that numbers with this size of team. It's really, I mean, it shows, I think, that we have an amazing team with a great culture, I think. And yes, that's one of the things, I mean, that's one of the biggest win for me and for Weglot is to have built this both efficient but friendly environment where we're all happy to work. So yeah, that's one. And the biggest failure,
A mistake that you turned around. I didn't make it easier, right?
no, no. I mean, I'm cheating if I'm talking about the first firing. No, maybe yes. So we're not actually 100% retention rate. Early this year, we have our head of sales, Laura, who quit the company, and I think that's a failure. It's also a win because she built something. I mean, the sales know-how and the sales team is really great, and it's thanks to her. She really did a great job, but at some point it's a failure because if she quits, maybe I was not good enough as a manager to help her to be happy and to develop herself inside Weglot. And so, yeah, that's kind of a failure. It's also an opportunity for Weglot because it opened a room for adding a new person to the team with a different experience and background. So I think overall it's not bad for Weglot. It's even maybe good, but personally it can be also seen as a failure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, you don't have too big of a team, and like everyone seems to be, closer to home. Oh, right. Well, the last question is about hack, and again, something maybe to think about. So it can be anything, it can be, hiring a great team. It can be your personal, mental health going through, this growth journey. It can be anything that is super small and you keep coming back to, or something that worked once and you wish you had a second chance with it.
Okay, no, we had a hack at the very beginning when we started Weglot with Remy, so my co-founder. During the first months of Weglot, before we had the legal entity, we went to the co-working places, asking people to add Weglot to their websites and tell us what they think about it. And many of them asked us, okay, but I have a WordPress website. Do you have a plugin for it? No, it's just it's a JS library. Just add it to the HTML. Yes, it's easy, but I can't do it. And so we understood that probably it would be a good idea to build a WordPress plugin. So we did it. Then we also listed it on the WordPress plugin directory, which is kind of a marketplace, an app store, but for plugin and in an open source approach. And once we did that, at this time people were looking at and searching for solutions, as in like similarly as in Google, but in WordPress for their WordPress issues, looking for WordPress solutions. So super qualified. And it gave us really the first traction in terms of usage. So from one day to the other, we had like many more users. It's not available anymore. But when you could do search and you could tier your results either based on popularity or updates. So some people were looking at results through updates, and so we were doing updates every day just to make sure we showed up in the results when people were tiering through updates among the first results. And probably it kicked a bit the trend at this time, and it helped us to get more users. So that was kind of a hack at this time. But the whole hack is, I think, to have an approach through marketplaces, CMSs with marketplaces where you can add your solution is really powerful when you're trying to market a product, understand the users, etc.
That's a pretty cool hack. I'm sure that some people will find it super helpful at their stage of growth. So thank you so much for sharing, and for the story. Like I said, when I was researching, I was so happy about reviews that people have about you in the company online, and it's always a good feeling to bring founders to this podcast that kind of share the same values that we have, and up for growing like a really good sustainable company. So thanks for doing this and for your time.
Yeah, sure. Can I add just one thing before
Yes.
it ends?
Yeah.
That's my auto promo moment. Sorry,
Yes.
but we just launched a new way, a use case for websites using Weglot. So, for example, if you have a dashboard for a SaaS or any private applications within a SaaS or even without a SaaS, we now have possibility to add Weglot to these private applications with this preferred language options. So you would handle and manage preferred language inside the user's profile, like you would do if you were doing it yourself. But it's actually powered by Weglot, the translated version. We waited a lot to release it because we wanted to do it and test it on our own dashboard before market it. But now we're satisfied with the performance and the look and feel. So yeah, if you're looking to add multilingual translations to your private applications inside your SaaS, reach out. I would be happy to personally see how the test can go with your use case and see if it could be a good fit.
Oh, that's a great offer. Thank you so much. Thanks for, using the podcast and, making it available here. And like I said, we have to do it again sometime.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you, Augustin, and take care.